Good morning, friends. We are back here at Boots and Bounty Homestead, and we are doing another collaboration. I was asked to be in this one by Miss Diane, and this one, instead of doing the canning one, is doing a dehydrating collaboration. So this is what we love to dehydrate and what we don't like to dehydrate. Well, I hate to spoil it for you guys, but I don't do a whole lot of dehydration. But what I wanted to do in this video is I'll tell you what I do and how I do it. But I also want to change it and tell you something else. My main thing is I grow all of our herbs that we use in our kitchen, except for the couple that I have to buy, like cumin or, onion powder, because I can't grow enough onions and garlic powder and stuff like that. Very minimal do we buy in the spice area. But I do grow everything outside, and then I bring it inside to dehydrate. Now, at first, whenever I got into creating my own garden, because I always grew up living off my dad's garden. Even if I didn't have a garden, I still got all of my food and vegetables and everything from him. And so once we moved here and I established my own garden, I bought a dehydrator. Now, it was just $3 at a yard sale. Wasn't anything fancy. So I used it. It didn't have the heat control on it, so it either worked really, really fast, or it crisped everything past the point of desire, I guess you could say. And the herbs that I was doing was just making a mess, just a big mess. And that was the biggest thing for me with my dehydrator, was everything just made a mess. So instead of, constantly cleaning it up, I decided just to go back the old-fashioned way, save my money on electricity, and get a little creative and decorate while I was at it. Let me show you what I mean. So during the spring, summer, fall months, when everything is really producing, I like to incorporate my herbs into my decorating my house to make it feel like you have stepped into your grandmother's house back in the day. And I like making herb curtains. Now, usually this is completely full of herbs, but I've had to since take them down to get ready for the next season, because a lot of mine are already starting to produce, and I'm cutting them down and dehydrating them. So what I do is you can take binder clips and clip the ends of your herbs and then just hang them on little tacks. Excuse the balloons, we had a birthday party. But there are little tacks that are hanging up there. You can take those binder clips, and the little handle part is hollow, and you can just clip them on those binder clips. Or you can take twine and wrap around it, and I just do like a little loop through and just hang them up there on the tacks. So that's all I do, and everyone compliments me on how lovely it works, especially being right here in this big bay window, because you can look straight out to the backyard where all the chickens and the garden and everything is, and you see this beautiful array of herbs hanging up there to dry. Now, of course, that's my favorite way to dehydrate my herbs. I also, on the bay window, I have just a cotton sheet that I like to lay down, because it's just a small piece that I had extra cut up, just a little piece of fabric. And I lay it on the bay window, and then I lay all of my flowers out to dry. Now I do like calendula and dandelions and, chamomile. I do stuff like that where they just lay out to dry, and then I put them up either for my products or for teas for later on. Now, those are the main ways that I just dehydrate. I want to show you how I store them, because once they come down off the window, let me show you how I store them. For a lot of my medicinals, I have to have a good bit of quantity, and so I store them in half-gallon jars. Now, it may take me a couple of these to store everything that God is growing in my yard, because they can be so prolific. And I use these little stickers here. These are chalk stickers. And on these half-gallon jars, there's a space right here that's flat that I love to put these stickers. Now, these are chalk stickers, but I have found when you are using the stickers on jars and are constantly touching them, especially like these the spices in your kitchen, I have found that chalk rubs off. So I sew by trade in the afternoons after work, and I started writing on them with fabric pencils, like Taylor pencils, and they work fabulously because you can rub them, you can touch them, it's not going to do anything. It's not coming off. So that is the best way that I have found to label my jars. Now, I've done the whole Sharpie thing, and I've done taping them on there, and I've done all that. The Sharpies tend to wear off because we do touch them so much while we're cooking or while we're making products or showing people, you know, this is for this is for this. You know, you start talking to someone about it once they start seeing what you do. You get to talking about it, and the more you touch it, the more that Sharpie comes off. And with the paper, you know, that you just write it on there, slap a piece of paper on it, unless you cover it, the paper either gets torn, the ink wears off, it changes colors, it might get wet, and then it's just gone. So this is the best thing for me, and I know we're not getting into storing your dehydrated stuff, but I wanted to show you guys how I label mine. You can get those stickers at Walmart or Amazon, just wherever. They are oval chalk labels, and they just stick on there really well. And even with what I do is I try to find a spot that's smooth to stick them on, just because I usually write on the jar instead of writing on the label. I don't know why. You would think we could write on the label and then put it on there, you know. I just don't think that way. But you can also put them up and down. Like on this jar, the marking for the company, who is this, Golden Harvest, is on one side, and it's actually flat on the other, which is kind of odd. But usually a ball or Kerr will have double-sided imprints, so you can actually put it down the spine if you want to. Doesn't work as well on pints because of the curve at the top and the bottom, but it does work better on quarts and half gallons. So this is the way I store my herbs, and I usually 99.9% I store them whole, just like you see here. I store them whole because they do retain the benefits a lot longer. But for my kitchen herbs, like sage, this kind of has to be pre-ground in my kitchen because I use it so much that I can't get my coffee grinder out that I use for my herbs every single time I want to use this, because it just makes a mess. If anybody works with sage, you know, it is just like a poof of powder. And so whenever I go ahead and grind mine up for sage, I go ahead and just do it all. I do the basil and I do my sage, and that's the only two that I pre-grind. Everything else I smash or grind in my hand while I'm using it, and they're usually straight off the stem. My thyme, my oregano, my rosemary, all of that stuff is in the jars on the stem, and then whenever I get ready to use it, I just take it out, run my fingers down the stem, and smash it in my hand and throw it in my dish. So that's a little bit about how I bring my herbs in, dry them, and store them, and use them. So turning to the next thing I wanted to talk about is not so much what I don't dehydrate, because like I said, I don't dehydrate fruits, I don't dehydrate stuff like that. I mean, I may put some things in the oven overnight, but that's rare because I didn't grow up dehydrating items. I grew up canning and freezing, that kind of thing. And so I'm not in the boat of dehydrating a whole lot of stuff. I don't have anything I don't like to dehydrate to tell you about, but I want to tell you what I want to try, because that seems to be more interesting to me, and that's what I get excited about. So I am growing a lot of fruit, and my dad has a lot of fruit trees and such like that I want to try to do fruit leather. Now you can do this in the oven from what I have read. You can smear it out, you know, on cookie sheets and do it in the oven and stuff like that. I also have two different dehydrators because I did buy a newer one that has a lower temp on it. So I've got a couple of ideas on dehydrating and making fruit leather. So that's one thing I'm excited about. If you've seen my last video from the last collaboration on what I will and won't can again, I had a lot of comments about the okra. Now the okra, it's one of those things that I was kind of iffy about, because you seen I had 2 exact jars from 2 different gardens that turned out 2 different ways. So that's why I'm kind of iffy about not canning okra again. But instead, people were recommending that I dehydrate it. I do cut it and freeze it with cornmeal in a bag so I can just take it out and use it. But when I store it in cornmeal, it's not readily available to use in, like, you know, either being pickled if I want to do it pickled later, or if I want to put it in soups or anything like that, because it's already got the cornmeal on it, and that may not be a wanted ingredient in whatever dish I'm making. So people were suggesting me to dehydrate it. And so that's one of those things on my checklist that I want to try to dehydrate some okra. But my big thing is I've got to get in the habit of actually using the dehydrated stuff. Now, I do have a strawberry patch out here, and I dehydrated some strawberries in one of my dehydrators last year. I have not even used not one of them because I forget I have it, because it's not one of my everyday used kind of in my list of things to use. Ingredients in my pantry, so I kind of forget about it, but I want to do better. Another thing that someone had brought up to me, my other problemed canned item was corn, and so I got to thinking about it. I could dehydrate corn and store it, because we did grow popping corn last year, and let me show you what that looks like. Here's our popping corn that we did last year. And basically with it, you just have to let it dry on the cob, and then you just pop it off with your thumbs, or some kind of, you know, extraction tool or something. And then you lay it out. Either you can do it in a dehydrator, or you can do it in the oven. You can just lay it on the table like I did. I just laid it on the table for a week and just kind of moved it around as we ate. But it has to be at a certain hydration level in order for the popcorn to work. So with popcorn, you have to kind of try it as it dehydrates, and then once it gets to a point where it no longer needs to dehydrate, then you put it in a container and kind of stop the process. But since doing this, I know I can do it. I want to try to grow a certain variety of choice, and it may take a few years to kind of find that that groove, because I don't have a big garden to be growing corn in. So it may be after we move and get more land where I can grow more corn to experiment with this project. But I want to cut the corn off the ear and dehydrate it, and then I can store it like this right here, and, you know, throw it in whatever I want to, instead of canning it. And it will also preserve those sugars, kind of like freeze dried. It'll kind of preserve those sugars that's in the corn, instead of it caramelizing or burning during the canning process. I believe that's about all. I do want to do the fruit leather, like I said. A lot of people were talking about the tomato skins last year. That got to be a big thing I seen on YouTube last year, was the dehydrated tomato skins. I usually don't have a whole lot of tomato skins left over, because a lot of the products that I make that go in our pantry, I just puree the skins up with it, because the way I process my tomatoes, I usually, if it's going to be pureed, the skins are going to be in there, and I'm just going to puree it up with it. That way it does make it thicker, and it does draw some of that water out, so I can, you know, pour the extra water off, so it doesn't take as long to cook, and it is thicker. A lot of people want to dehydrate greens, and that may be something, you know, making like a green powder. I don't grow enough to actually store up to make a green powder. I usually just go ahead and can mine, because I just eat greens, you know, just out of a jar, raw. I cook them down, whatever. I just do it that way, and I don't have enough yet to do like a green powder to make like for smoothies or casseroles or adding in soups and stuff like that. I just don't have enough of that stuff to do it yet. So that stuff will be down the road. And if you like this content, go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel, because down the road, you know, whenever you get on YouTube, you can't teach everything you know all at once, and you can't grow all at once. You have to take it step by step. So us learning together takes time. And for me to share everything that I know takes time. And so that's why I invite you to follow our journey and go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel so we can learn together. I want to show you some new stuff that I'm learning, which we are just starting into a new sourdough journey. If you want to join me with that, I've got a couple of videos out about that, and I've got some recipe videos to come. And we also do line dancing, just throwing that out there. If you guys would like to enjoy listening to music, or would like to learn, to dance along with us on YouTube, we do go live whenever we go to dance halls, and they're family friendly. We go and we dance, and you can learn the dances, and you can dance along with us at, you know, the convenience of your own home if you would like, if you don't have anywhere to go. But we do share most of our lives with you. It's very little that you guys don't know about. But if you like this content, go ahead and follow us on our journey. Let's learn together, and I will try to teach you all that I know, and we can share ideas, we can share recipes, we can share tips and tricks and all that good stuff. In the description below is the list of collaborators that are in this collaboration. Go check out their channels, go check out their video, see what they do, because I'm sure they do a lot more than I do. But like I said, I'm just not used to dehydrating yet, but I'm getting there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time. Bye guys.